Yes, friends, welcome again to Through Literary Lens. I'm Rajesh Asudani, Raqeeb.
This is Dr. Vinod Asudani once again with you.
And this time we have brought an immortal poem,
Which one?
Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Oh, that is really a masterpiece from the pen of S.T. Coleridge.
And see the spelling, it's not rhyme, it is rhyme.
Yes.
Simplicity of the Romantics.
Yes.
Huh?
Ancient is old, mariner, of course you know, sailor, right? S.T. Coleridge was close associate and friend of William Wordsworth, the founder of Romantic revival in English literature.
Yes.
And when we look at the Romantic literature, some of the characteristics they do surface in our mind is love of nature, description of supernatural, description of beauty, love for freedom, lyricism,
Yes.
and so on. Individuality, the different rhyme, stanza
Meters,
forms,
yeah.
meters. So it is a freedom, it is a liberalism in literature, as Victor Hugo points out.
Yeah, and it is nearer to life, nearer to the lived experience of the folk.
Now, S.T. Coleridge is predominantly supernatural writer. That is how he is usually described.
Yeah, I mean both the roles. Wordsworth is said to have described the ordinary things in a way which sounded extraordinary.
Yes.
And Coleridge is said to have described extraordinary things in a way which sounded ordinary.
Right. And in order to enjoy Coleridge's poem, rather any literature, you need to believe in willing suspension of disbelief.
Yes. What's that, Vinodji?
It is a psychological realism, something that is happening before you, even if when you apply logical or the rules of the rationality, you may find it to be something improbable. But when you believe them, and psychologically, it may be possible. For example, when you go to see a movie,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
and there is a particular character, and you not Amitabh Bachchan is playing that character, and if you say, oh, Bachchan ji has been paid 1 crore rupees to play this role, then you will lose all the interest and the charm of that movie.
correct. So for enjoying the literature, or rather I would say, Vinodji, for
Any
living
art.
the life itself,
Yes,
you have to have the willing suspension of disbelief.
it is taking the illusion to be reality.
Yeah. And of course, as philosophically speaking also, illusion is reality.
Yes.
Like simple example, sunrise. Does sun rise? No, it doesn't. The earth revolves. But we say sun rises.
And
It's an
sunsets.
illusion.
It is an
Sunrise
illusion.
and sunset. But that illusion is real for us.
While the earth is moving, but illusion is, it is static.
Yeah. So
But we have to believe it.
that is real.
Yes.
Sunrise and sunsets are real.
So S.T. Coleridge gradually takes us to the fantastic world where the improbable
Where also
things
the
happen.
sun rises first from the right and sets in the left. Again it rises from the left and sets
And
in
the
the
ship
right.
moves without any wind.
Yeah.
And then the supernatural creatures, they do appear. They are like just like devils or the ghosts.
Yeah.
So S.T. Coleridge, basically, why this poem is known as Rime of Ancient Mariner first.
It is a rhyme, written in the rhyme. Yeah, stanza forms are rhyming.
Yeah, and the narrator, is setting out to attend one
voyage. Yeah, first of all, it's a wedding guest.
wedding
Yeah.
guest. He attends one wedding ceremony, but before he could reach there, all of a sudden on the way he is stopped by an old person.
Yeah.
And he's a mariner, and he has a shining eyes and the skinny hands, and he asks the narrator to stop and listen to his
Listen
tale.
to his tale, which he refuses. The wedding guest refuses.
Yes.
And disengages his hand.
And then
Then he's captivated
by his
the eyes.
magical eyes, and then this wedding guest cannot do anything but sit on the rock just like a small 3-year-old child and listen to what this mariner says.
From time to time he fidgets in the beginning, but he's absorbed into the tale gradually.
And all of a sudden, mariner starts his story that once upon a time he set out on a voyage with 200 colleagues.
Yeah. He proceeded towards south, maybe towards Antarctica.
Yes.
And,
And gradually they reached that part of the ocean where no
water.
other human beings or creatures are seen.
They were caught up in the icy ocean.
Yes.
Everywhere it was ice.
Water everywhere, not a drop to drink.
It was first of all ice everywhere.
first.
They were caught up in those glaciers maybe. And then albatross appeared, the bird appeared, and it led them away from the ice towards
They
the
welcomed
water.
him as a good omen first.
Yeah, it rescued them from the icy ocean.
And they played with him, they gave him a food.
Then it followed their boat for food or play. Daily it came to their boat.
Yes. And all of a sudden, at the end of the first part of this poem, this ancient mariner took out his bow and arrow and shot Albatross dead.
This is the very mysterious juncture in the entire poem, Vinodji. Even when I was narrating this story to my small child, he suddenly asked, why did he shoot it?
And this is the fundamental question, because this bird had not done anything wrong to the mariner or to his colleagues.
Yeah.
Then why, out of the blue, he must shot it dead?
The nature that loved the bird, that loved the man, he was shot like that. And these are very haunting lines, because now, Vinodji, the way we are plundering the resources,
Yes.
we are raping the earth. Why? The question arises, why? And this why has not still been satisfactorily answered.
And the rest of the poem is nothing but it is
Consequence.
the consequence. It is the punishment that the mariner and his friends have to undergo because of this crime or the sin of killing, murdering innocent bird.
Innocent bird, which even helped them. This is a cardinal sin. I mean, to use the religious terminology,
Yes.
this is the sin. This is the violation of nature.
Violation of the sanctity of life itself.
Sanctity of life itself.
And gradually we see that
First, the mariners, told him that why did you kill? They criticized him for a while, but then they forgot it, and then they even admired, because birds which bring the mist, they should be shot.
because
So
the
they
sun
were
began to shine
intensely-
brightly,
Yeah.
and they supported mariner's action that he was right in
Right.
killing this bird. So they also become accomplices in this crime.
And because they are inconsistent, they don't have any principled stand. They simply they criticize him first, and then they admire him. So they are simply consequentialists, not even to the true sense of the term.
And gradually the climate begins to change.
Change.
Now the sun appears on the heat, and it becomes a very scorching heat.
And still, sea is very still, totally. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea.
Now even the winds stop. So magical or frightening environment comes about, right? Now there is no wind, there are no waves on the surface of the ocean, but still the ship is going on. And all of a sudden, with a jerk, it stops, and it appears as a painted ship on the painted ocean.
sea. And these mariners, they hang the albatross around the neck of the mariner.
Now this is his punishment. The dead albatross is hung around his neck. And then at the night, the water begins to burn like
Oil of the witch. And he says, 1,000 slimy things lived, and so did I. He is still filled with the hatred for life.
Yes.
Violation of the sanctity of life. Still the mariner is filled with that. And then the ship appears on the horizon, the ghostly ship.
Yeah, the other ship, the spectre ship. And the two ghostly ships are seen, and they are playing the game of dice. One is death, another is life and
Life
death.
and death.
And all of a sudden, this life and death proclaims thrice that I have won, I have
Game
won.
is over, I have won, I have won.
What she has won? She has won the life of mariner. In other words, from now onwards, the life of mariner is going to be tortured between life and death experience.
He has to undergo the agony, the torture, the mental torture of having violated the sanctity of life. Other 200 fall to the death. They die. One
And they
by
die
one.
with the thunder sound.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they fall dead. And this frightens even the
Wedding guest.
At this juncture, mariner assures him that fear not, this soul did not fall.
And then for 7 days and 7 nights he does the penance.
Yes. And he's so afraid of the 200 corpses of his friends around lying on the deck. And he's only person who survives in this heap of dead bodies.
And they have the curse in their dead eyes. A curse from the orphan can drag a person down from the heaven.
Yes.
But the curse in the dead man's eyes is worse than that.
and he has to suffer this curse for 7 days and the 7 nights. And all of a sudden now, this ship begins to slowly move towards the shore. And it is
But
followed.
only when he admires the water snakes.
Now, the regeneration starts in the fourth and the fifth part of this poem.
Yeah.
He begins to now admire these small creatures.
Beauty of those
creatures.
snakes. So beginnings of the appreciation of life.
Is the beginning of the regeneration. It is the beginning of the redemption as well. And then the date albatross falls into the water from his neck.
And then he dreams of rain, and rain also comes.
And before that, right, the ship is presumably followed by the soul of albatross.
Yeah.
And then there is a conversation of the two voices.
Two voices.
They are narrating the story or the sin of this mariner.
And life and death says that it is not yet over. But the other spirit says that now he will regenerate himself. Let us go away now.
But the other voice says penance he has done, and more penance he will do. That means the suffering is not completely over. Although the redemption has started, now the trouble, the torture has declined in its intensity, but the sin once committed is committed. It continues to have its impact on the life of mariner forever.
Definitely, because although he realizes his mistake, he regrets, he appreciates life, but once done cannot be totally undone.
And then before the ship could touch the shore, there is a small boat, and this ship goes round and round and finally sinks into the water.
The priest and the pilot boy, and they rescue him. And
only minor is rescued.
Yeah.
Rest of the people who were with him, they simply sink into the water.
Maybe they were animated by the light angels. They were not alive. They were animated for the time being with the angels of light.
And finally, mariner is rescued by this ship pilot and the priest, and is brought back to the shore. He's, for the time being, is not able to believe that really he has come back from this terrible journey.
And he narrates his tale to the priest also. He confesses, but then from time to time, he feels the urge to narrate his entire story to a person. He recognizes the person whom he should narrate the story, and wedding guest is one of them.
Yes.
And he holds from like night, he travels from land to land and finds the people whom he can narrate this story. But why? He says it is at an uncertain hour this agony returns.
Yes, this is a really very haunting line.
Haunting line. And then he narrates the story. Wedding guest also listens, and he's transformed. He does not go to the wedding then. Perhaps wedding is over by then.
And now wedding is doesn't seem to be very important.
Very important. He goes away, he sleeps, and the morrow morn he rose sadder and wiser. He rose the morrow morn.
This is very important. This is the ultimate impact of any great art.
Yes.
That once you go through it, then you become sadder, but at the same time wiser. So this is very important phrase given by S.T. Coleridge. Whether it is your own experience, whether it's a reading of some literary piece, or whether it is the crisis, some crisis in life that leaves you sadder and wiser.
Sadder and wiser. And who prayeth best, who loveth best.
So again, this is the moral of this poem, that the ultimate prayer to Almighty is nothing but loving one's fellow beings.
That's it. In this story, first of all, the great mystery. Why did he kill albatross? This is very primordial mystery. We know that we should not violate the sanctity of life, but we are violating it day in and day out, and we don't know why. Is it the basic fact, Vinodji, of the nature? Is it the basic facet of existence? Or it is some causeless primordial forces?
Perhaps it is a mystery that one creature eats other, and only then it can survive. Why it should be like this?
Why it should be like this? And then once you violate the sanctity of life, you at least should realize it and regenerate it and appreciate life. Then at least the process of living will begin. Otherwise you will die like the 200 corpses, 200 other fellow mariners.
Until and unless you do not realize that you have committed a sin, and until and unless you do not try to redeem yourself through prayer and love, the redemption or the regeneration will not come. One of the critics has summed up this poem in a single sentence, that Rime of Ancient Mariner is nothing but it is a thesis of sin and regeneration.
Yes. And sin, not in the supernatural manner. Their deities are not, their deities, gods, they may not have punished, but the nature itself.
Nature itself punishes.
The human, it's himself, herself. that humility, that nature, that if you violate the basic sanctity of existence, of life, nature may violate it. It does not care about even the species, forget about the individual. Tennyson has said it. But we as human beings should not, violate the sanctity of existence and exterminate and destroy.
Exactly. That is one of the ecological concerns today, that if we continue to exploit, the natural resources, we will endanger many species, many plants, many trees, right? And that is not good for the existence of human race as well.
It will backfire. It will, in turn, we will exterminate ourselves.
And another aspect for which this poem is universally admired, the wonderful portrayal of supernatural.
Oh yes,
it's a wonderful piece of supernatural poetry. And very often in the graduation and post-graduation, questions are asked, Rajeshi, bring out the supernatural element in Rime of Ancient Mariner.
Yeah, naturally. Every description, right from the beginning to the end, it will enthrall you. It will, as if you are in the vicinity of the ghosts and spirits and what not.
Exactly, the poem has a pictorial quality.
Yeah.
You see the various things, various characters coming before your eyes, and they are so fascinating, so mysterious, so magical even. And the language of the poem is very captivating.
Very captivating. Even a child can understand.
Yeah, it's a so rhyming language, rhythmic language, musical language.
And what about the dead mariners? They did not live because they never perceived the violation of the sanctity of nature. Neither they perceived the consequences, neither they perceived the regeneration.
Yes.
Nothing. They were like what Simon Boyers called submen.
Yes.
They were not cognizant of anything.
Yes. Yes. So this poem in itself is very interesting, very informative, and it basically adds not only to your knowledge, but basically it adds to your wisdom. After reading this poem, you emerge as wiser, definitely, and I wish you should not emerge as sadder, but sadness is an integral part of life. I believe that the route to wisdom goes through melancholy.
Definitely.
So Rajesh, thank you very much for discussing this poem of S.T. Coleridge, and I wish that we can discuss more poems, other poems of S.T. Coleridge, because S.T. Coleridge is one of the significant poets who continues to charm the various generations till this date.
Yes.
So thank you listeners, and tell about this channel to your friends, to your colleagues, and if you like our discussions, write your comment in the comment box. Thank you.
Thank you.